Good morning and welcome to the Yarns and Brews podcast. Happy New Year to all of you. Welcome back to any returning viewers to the Yarns and Brews podcast, new viewers. I greatly appreciate you stopping by this little channel and corner of the world that I have to share my knitting, spinning, and weaving projects. So I hope all of you had really happy and safe holidays if you celebrate. With that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the different knitting projects that I have been working on. I don't have tons to share today because I've been pretty monogamous trying to finish up a couple old whips. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started with what I'm wearing. And today I am wearing my Felix jumper by Amy Christoffers. And I knit this, I think 2 years. Yeah, it was 2 years ago because I think I knit it for the, in 2020, right before the pandemic hit. But it is made out of Mountain Spinnery's. It was a limited edition yarn, the Avacado colorway. I can't remember the name of the yarn. They probably don't make it anymore because they do a lot of limited edition batches. I'm guessing because they get certain types of wool in, and then they make yarns to that specification for that wool. So this is a really warm sweater. It was a single ply yarn, and it has like little tweedy flecks in it as well. So I love green. You'll probably pick up on that as the podcasts kind of go on, but this color green is probably my favorite. And I think I have like 3 other sweaters in a similar or the same dark green colorway. So it's kind of funny because some people see me working on them at Knit Group and they're like, how many green sweaters do you need? And I'm like, until my heart's content. So that is what I'm currently wearing. And there's really no detail on this sweater except for this little bit of raglan detailing here along the shoulder line. So yeah, that's basically what I'm wearing. The only thing that I need to probably go in and fix is this yarn is a little bit fragile because it is a single ply, and I'm starting to get some like worn spots in the elbow. So I think the sweater would look great with some elbow patches. So I ordered some leather elbow patches that I'm going to put on the sweater to help protect it. I'm really hard on the elbows of my sweaters. Every other place, aside from like some of the wearing and pilling that I get along the sides, all my other sweaters have held up really nicely. But for this one, for some reason, I'm really gonna go through those elbows if I don't do something about them. So, but yeah, that's my Felix sweater or pullover by Amy Christoffers. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get into finished objects. So my first finished object that I have to share with you is just a pair of simple socks that I created for myself. So there's really nothing super crazy to write home about. They are made from Woolly Mammoth Fiber Company, her DK sock yarn, which is a 50% BFL, 50% Cheviot blend. So I just finished these a couple days ago, but I'm actually thinking about ripping them out and reknitting them because they fit a little bit big. This is a DK weight yarn, as I said, and it is, I knit it on a size 4 needle, thinking that that would be small enough. And then I also only knit 44 stitches, and then I decreased 4 stitches on the leg to try to make them fit a little bit better, but the foot is extremely loose on me. So I might just go back, rip them out, and knit them on a size 3 with the same specifications as I made before. So yeah, I really like the yarn though. I think it would be a lot warmer if I knit it in a little bit tighter gauge. So I might go ahead and do that just because they didn't take very long and it's just a nice project to have on the go. So yeah, and then the colorway for this yarn was Party in the Common Room. Her yarn colors are, she tends to dye some of the same colors like peony, but it looks like because they're in different batches and because she's doing naturally dyed yarns, they do turn out slightly different. So if you end up ordering from her, just know that it might look slightly different in the picture, or if you ended up finding this colorway, it might look slightly different than the one that I currently have. So that is my first finished object. It's not my first of the year though. So my first finished object of the year is my Bramble Sweater I am finally finished with it. I spent all Christmas break working on those sleeves. So I think the last time I talked, I had the body done, but I was only about maybe here on the sleeves, maybe even a little bit less. But yeah, I ended up knitting the rest of the sleeves and then doing the shoulder shaping and then seaming it all together. So it fits perfectly. I'm going to wear it in the next podcast. It's slightly damp right now because I reblocked it after I sewed everything together. So that's what the back looks like. So yeah, this is my first Marie Wallin sweater. I've knit a pair of socks by her, the Nora socks, but I got really smart at the end of this project, unfortunately, but I started weaving the ends as I go, and I don't know why I just didn't do that technique from the get-go. I hand woven all the ends of the body of the sweater, and then I had to do it on, you know, that first portion of sleeve, basically from there to the cuff. And then I got smart and I watched a tutorial. I think that it was like the Weave and Steven, because Marie Wallin uses a similar technique. I think she just goes like one direction and then the opposite direction with the yarn when she twists them. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't do that because it's so easy to do for, you know, 5 to 10 stitches. I got a little bit nervous, so I just did mine for like 10 at least stitches, but everything held perfectly within the yarn. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with the final outcome of this sweater. So no complaints, and I can't wait to knit some of her sweaters out of the Cherish book that was her new release last fall. So yep, and that is it for the finished objects, unfortunately. I actually will insert a video because I do have a couple other finished objects to share. So here it is. Good morning. This is a quick little interlude that I'm inserting into one of my next videos, but I wanted to show off a couple projects before I give them away for Christmas. So one of the projects is this beautiful hand spun skeins of yarn, and this was out of a mystery wool. I'm not really sure what it is, but I personally believe it's probably Leicester long wool just because it has a really shiny gleam to it, and it's definitely a long wool of some sort. And so it's either that or it is Lincoln wool. I've spun both of those before, and to me it resembles most Leicester long wool. So but this is a beautiful skein of, I think it's about 351 yards of sport weight yarn, and it's just 2-ply, and I'm really happy with it. It's kind of moody for this dark, gloomy day. Moving on to my next project. So I knit up a couple cowls for a few of my friends. These were sock blinks dyed by Maria from Ninja Chicken, and I purchased these at SAF. I thought they were gorgeous, and they are eco-dyed with different plants that are found on her farm. Yeah, and then basically I ripped out both edges, and then I kitchenered them together, and then I just picked up stitches along the edge here and added this border. So for this border I did a 3x2 rib, so you can kind of see that. I think I like the way this one came out a little bit better than the next one I'm about to show you, but I was kind of running low on time, so I couldn't redo the other one. That's that one. And then there is this one, which is also dyed by Maria from Ninja Chicken. I did not get the chance to block these, but they're knitters, so they're going to understand. But yeah, this is an indigo. I think there's indigo, and then there's also hibiscus and eucalyptus in this one. So it's creating all those lovely like blue tones. And then for the edging, I did a 4x4 knit purl edge, and you can kind of see it just kind of has like more of a wave to it. So kind of undecided if I like this one or not. I think it would require blocking for me to really get a good perspective on it. So I just wanted to share those with you because they're going out today. I'm going to knit group, and these are for some of my knitting friends. So yeah, I didn't really want to miss the opportunity to share those. And then lastly, I wanted to do a corrections corner because I had a lovely viewer correct me on Polworth. I think I had originally said that they were from New Zealand, but I think I often get those. I know New Zealand has a ton of sheep, so I think I often get those confused with some other breeds. But Polworth are actually from Australia, and I have my little fleece and fiber field guide here, but I'll just read an excerpt. So Polworths are named for the county in southwestern Australia where the breed, a cross of Merino Rams with Merino Lincoln ewes, was developed. In South America, these sheep are known as ideals, and they are one of the breeds grown in the Falkland Islands. So here is just a little picture of what they look like. I just wanted to make that correction because I think I often confuse that for some reason, but yeah, thank you to you lovely viewers who keep me honest and corrected me on some of my my shortcomings. So yeah, I had a couple other finished objects, but I had to give them away for Christmas, including a pair of hand-spun socks for one of my family members, and then also like a headband, like a similar headband. I think I showed it on the podcast. I wasn't very far on it, but I ended up doubling it up, and then I ran out of yarn, so then I just used a contrasting colorway to seam the two pieces of fabric together. So that turned out really well. I think my mom's going to enjoy it. So for my first whip, because I am on a Marie Wallin kick, I'm actually participating in the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast, knit along that she started in August, and I think it goes through August of this year. Don't quote me on that, but it does run for a really long time, and I appreciate that because I know that Marie Wallin patterns can take quite a while. And sometimes, I don't know, I know with my Bramble, I started it in April, and then I kind of set it down for a little while, and then I'd pick it up and I'd work on a huge chunk of it, and then I'd set it down. So it just kind of comes in spurts. So yeah, I appreciate a little bit longer timeline on that so I can work on a couple more projects maybe and insert them. My Bramble doesn't count because I started it before August, but for any of you who are interested in participating, I would definitely recommend her podcast. She has a little Instagram chat group going that keeps everybody motivated, and it's a great resource for asking questions. I know I had a little bit of trouble because I made some conversions in my Bramble, so I converted it to knitting in the round, and then I had a couple questions about the sleeve shaping, I think, because I think I was just like tired when I was reading the pattern, so I was not sure if I was reading it correctly or if I was interpreting it wrong. So yeah, they helped me with that as well. But this is my first whip, which is the Lily pattern by Marie Wallin. It's not super far, but I did do about 9 to 10 centimeters of ribbing. The pattern calls for 8, but since I have an extra long torso, I'm trying to get the length anywhere I can. So I'm just starting on a little bit of color work here. It's not a ton to show, but I'm starting to get into like the big motif, the big first motif on that pattern, which is like these gorgeous flowers. So I'm slightly nervous about it though, because I started looking at it today, and there's some pretty drastic floats on some of the first rows. So I want to make sure I get my tensioning right on that, but those make me slightly nervous because we're talking over 20 stitches where the yarn is being carried before it's being knit again. So yeah, stay tuned for that and see how that works. Maybe if it doesn't work, maybe I will just go in and double knit those areas that I'm concerned with, but hopefully I don't have any tension issues, because I tend to catch my yarn, and every 3 to 4 stitches I catch my yarn on when I'm knitting on pretty small needles like this. So these are size 3 needles, and usually I'll go 4 stitches, but if there's 5 stitches in a grouping, then I will catch my float on stitch 3 to make sure I keep my floats nice and short. So that is where I'm at on that so far. I let myself start it, but I wouldn't let myself knit on the color work until I was done with my Brambles. So it was nice to kind of just pick this up and immediately start on the color work. So that's my first one. The yarn is Rowan Felted Tweed, so I'm just using all the same colors that she recommended in her patterns. I think Marie Wallin has such an eye for color that I don't think I would do as good of a job picking my own colorways or modifying the patterns. So I think when it's like 2 colors, like that's a little bit easier, but a lot of these patterns she uses, you know, 10 to 12 colors. I follow her lead, and I will just knit as similar of colors as I can with her patterns because she does such a wonderful job. My next project is the Baby Surprise Cardigan by Elizabeth Zimmerman. So I'm not super far along on this. I was further, and then I realized I wasn't paying attention to any directions and I had to rip it out. So instead of just ripping out a few rows, well, it would have been like half the project. I just restarted it. And now I'm just following the pattern row by row to get it right. But I'm knitting it in Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Marte. So it's just this pretty red with, you know, some brown tonals and bluish tonals in there. And I have 2 skeins, so we'll see how much I'll need to dive into the second skein, but I'm knitting, there's different sizes that you can pick from the pattern. You can kind of cast this on in as many different sizes as you want. It's a really flexible pattern in that way. So I'm knitting it a little bit bigger. This is gonna be for my nephew. Hoping that he'll be able to wear it for a while if I knit it just slightly bigger. So the next project I want to share is my green mist sweater. So this is a Bohus pattern, and I finished the color work finally. So I'm just doing solid color rounds right now, and hopefully soon I will get to the sleeve separation. But yeah, Angora Garnet is the designer name who recreated a lot of these patterns from older Bohus, I guess, sweaters. She went and studied them and then recreated the pattern, and is now selling also her yarn to knit these beautiful sweaters out of. So it's a 50-50 merino Angora blend. And so it produces a really beautiful halo, as I mentioned before. It's kind of hard to catch on this light. I'm sorry about the lighting. It's a rainy day here, so, and it's winter. Not much I can do about it other than light candles and try to make it as cozy as possible. But yeah, so this is the green mist pullover. It's really time consuming. I didn't ever realize what it would be like to knit a sweater on size, I think these are 1.5 needles, but I'm slowly realizing that it's just gonna take a long time. But at least I'm just focusing now on just plain stockinette stitch. And, you know, there's really no rush for it. So I can really take my time and enjoy the process. And then the last whip I'm going to work on is my Sly Maid Stole by Kathleen Dames. So I started this too long ago. I think in 2020, like half my whips are started in 2020 and then forgotten about. But it's not very far along, but it's just a really beautiful stockinette eyelets, and then it'll be reverse stockinette. So it's a completely reversible pattern, but it's just a really beautiful shawl. And I made one of these before, and then I gave it to my sister. And if it were in a colorway I liked, then I would have really regretted giving it away, because I really liked the drape of it and it was really light and squishy. And so I said I would just knit myself one in a color that I liked. So I just chose Madelinetosh Prairie in this greenish colorway. Like, without pulling the tag out, I can't tell you what the colorway is anymore, but yeah, I bought this yarn at Webb's. I went to Webb's in 2019 when my sister lived in Boston. So that was a really fun experience. I'm going on a trip in a little while to California to visit some family. So I think I'm gonna take this one with, just because it's not something I would gravitate towards picking up when I'm here at home. I would rather be knitting on a sweater. So this is a great travel project because there's like 800 yards in one of these skeins of lace weight yarn. And then, so it'll keep me occupied for the time that I'm out there. And then the last whip I have, I actually thought that was the last one, but it's not. But the last one I have is my Damjakka Loppa. And I started this one in 2020 as well. but I put it down because I was trying to knit it completely in the round. This is supposed to be a cardigan, but I was converting it to being in the round. And then I kind of ran into some hiccups with this area where I was changing colors and then carrying the flea yarn down. And so I was just really concerned about whether or not I was happy with it and whether or not I should just rip it out. But what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna convert it. I don't have the steek stitches in there, but I'm gonna convert it back to just a cardigan. And I'm just going to steek down that center area there. So I'll probably end up needle felting it. That seems to be my preferred method for securing a steek, is if the yarn is nice and sticky, which this is. Well, just to quickly talk about the yarn. So the light pink color, the light pink color is knit one purl, or sorry, knit one crochet two, and then you can kind of see a little bit better on this side because they're short rows, but this color here, this periwinkle color, is a Jamison of Shetland color. The dark purple berry color is Tuku wool, and then this purpley pink color here is also, and the blue color are also Jamison. Jamison of Shetland. And then the primary colors on the body, the green and the white, are Fiber Company Cumbria. Yeah, it's the Cumbria fingering weight yarn. And so all of it is non-superwash yarn, which is why I think I can get away with like a needle felting steek. I might also secure it with some lace weight yarn if I can find some that's going to work in this project or work towards securing the steek, but I might also secure it with a crochet chain. I made one Damjakka Loppa before, and I used the crochet method for securing the steek, and I think personally that it added a lot of bulk, and part of that was because I used fingering weight yarn. I knit that sweater, I think in 2016 or 2017 out of Quince & Company, and I used that same yarn to secure the steek, and it's a little bit rounder yarn, so to me it just made the steek extra bulky, and I don't tend to gravitate towards that sweater as much, and I'm not sure if it's because of that. I mean, there was a couple other issues with that sweater, and so I wanted to knit another one to make it the fit that I wanted, but yeah, so I'm gonna pick this back up and start working on it, because I'm about, I'm done with the hard parts. I'm just like halfway done with the body, still need to knit the sleeves, so I'm about a third of the way done, I'd say. And it would just be nice to have like another whip done. So kind of one of my goals or resolutions this year is, and I kind of started out this way last year and I was doing really well until about mid-year, but I would like to knit down some of my whips. So I think I have about 12 works in progress right now. I really would just like to have, I think, about 3 to 4. That would make me feel good. So I'm gonna knit 3 works in progress, and then I'm gonna allow 3 to 4 works in progress, and then allow myself to cast on a new project to keep it fresh and keep me motivated. But that's kind of my goal for this year. And I really only wanna carry 1 to 2 sweaters on the needles at any given time. Right now I have too many, and it becomes challenging to keep track of where I'm at in a pattern. Like this was easy because it's, it's just fleece stitches, but there's some other patterns where I've stopped and it's been really difficult to pick it back up because I'm in the middle of cables, or I just find it really challenging and then a little bit demotivating having to waste a bunch of time trying to figure out where I'm at a pattern. So that's one of my goals this year. There's a couple of different whip downs. I'm not gonna personally do any sort of knit alongs for that because I wanna do a knit along starting next month for spring and summer knits. That's all I have for the knitting content, and I'm gonna go ahead and move into spinning. I talked about this earlier, but this was the part of the Inglenook fiber set from Tour de Fleece last year. So I also spun and plied these two. So these are the first 3 braids. And they are allegedly a Pullover silk blend. I am not 100% sure on that because I've also seen people tag the same yarn with Pullover silk bamboo. So I'm not sure if there's bamboo content in there or not. It would not surprise me because I've really struggled to spin this yarn and I struggle with bamboo. So hard to know, but the tag that came with the fiber said Polworth and silk. So I guess in my mind, I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I am coming along on these. I have my 4th one on the wheel right now, but I've kind of taken a couple weeks break from that. I should really get back at it so that they're similar in weight structure. But yeah, happy with the colors so far, that's for sure. And then the next one I spun or have to show is Woolly Bully, is the fiber dyer. I do not know if she's dyeing or not anymore. I've had this in my stash for a couple of years, so but this is 100% Cheviot. And it was these gorgeous, like bright springy neon green colors. And this was also part of the Tour de Fleece colors, and it was called I'm Exhausted. I got 223 yards in 2-ply, and it's about a DK weight. So I really like how this came out. I spun a braid of hers before when I first started spinning, and I way overspun that yarn. So I was a little bit nervous to spin Cheviot again because of that. I guess like I ended up only making a singles yarn with the last one because it was so tightly spun. I tried to ply it and it was like breaking the plies. That's how tightly I spun it. So it was just nice to see, I guess, the progress that you can make when you practice and, you know, come out with a really nice yarn at the end. So, and then this one is a 3-ply that I did, and it is the Cedar Creek colorway, and it is by Wee Chickadee, and it is 100% Polworth. And this one I also got 223 yards. I must have been like on some sort of kick to get 223 for 2 skeins. That like never happens, but yeah, this one just had like a lot of different subtle like muted rainbows, but also purple colors as well in there. And then the last one I have to show is this beautiful skein. This is probably my favorite that I've done in a while, but this was spun out of Rollags. So you can see that this one's like slightly more uneven, and it is because of that prep. Like I'm not used to spinning that style of prep, but I really loved the colors in those Rollags. I'm not usually like a Christmas yarn person, but this was not super Christmassy. And I really liked like the tans that offset those colors. And Hikari Handmade, she is an artist out of Montana. She's the one that created those Rollags. So, and then the colorway was Christmas Cabin. And I bought 2 sets of the Rollags because normally they come in like 2-ounce bundles. And so I got 4.4 ounces of them. And it was like the most beautifully packaged little box too. And then it had 2 little extra Rollags in there. So it was just really special. And lastly, I just wanted to share what I was gifted for Christmas. So one of my family members knows me too well, and they gave me some beautiful Icelandic roving from a farm in Wisconsin. So I just thought it was really special, and it's this beautiful brownish color. They asked me how I was gonna dye it, and I was like, I'm not gonna dye it. I love the color. So I actually have a bigger roll of it upstairs in my knitting room too, but I just wanted to bring it down and share it because I thought it was really, really sweet. Yeah, I had some family in town, and so that was kind of nice to spend time with them. And we went to the yarn shop up in Hillsboro, North Carolina, which is probably my favorite yarn shop in the area. I think every yarn shop has something to offer, but that one's my favorite because there's all these non-superwash yarns, and they have like every color of Jamison that you can imagine. So it's just a fun place to go. And I haven't been up there since before the pandemic because they were closed for a long time and they were only taking online orders. And I'm a person that really needs to see the yarns in person. So it was just really nice to be up there and to support them because I do really value them as a yarn shop in my, semi-local area. That's a little bit of a hike for me, but But yeah, it was just really nice to see them and make sure that they were getting on okay. So yeah, so before we say our goodbyes, I just wanted to make sure I announced the giveaway winner for this skein of hand spun yarn. So this was, again, Nest Fibers in Sandcastle. It is a Pullover and silk blend, and it's kind of like these oranges and blues and tan, little pops of pinks in there. It's a 3-ply yarn, and it's about 115 yards. So it's a little bit on the like Aran to bulky side. It is Caroline Taylor, so if you want to message me on either Ravelry or Instagram, my information is down below in the box. But congratulations on winning a skein of handspun yarn, and I hope you enjoy it, and you'll have to definitely tell me what you make with it, or snap a picture and tag me or something like that. So that's all I have for you today. So I hope you have a wonderful start to the new year, and if you have set goals or intentions for yourself, leave any comments down below and let me know how those are going for you. Take care and see you next time. Goodbye.